4 गुना अधिक कोविड-19 के चपेट में आ सकती हैं, जिससे उन्हें हॉस्पिटल में दाखिल होना पड़े। अगर आपकी तबीयत ठीक नहीं है और आपको कोविड-19 के सिम्टम्स हैं, तो आपको जल्द से जल्द मदद लेनी चाहिए। अगर आपको बुखार है, सूखी खांसी है या स्वाद और गंध की क्षमता चली गई है, तो सब ठीक हो जाएगा ऐसा समझकर घर पर ना बैठें। लोकल मैटरनिटी सर्विसेज 24/7 आपके लिए खुले हैं। अगर आप प्रेग्नेंट हैं, तो जरूरी है कि आप कम्युनिटी मिडवाइफ या जीपी सर्जरी में अपॉइंटमेंट बुक करें। अगर आपको अपने स्वास्थ्य की चिंता है या अपने अनबॉर्न चाइल्ड के स्वास्थ्य की फिक्र है, तो मदद लीजिए। अपॉइंटमेंट्स आपको फोन पर, वीडियो चैट पर भी हो सकते हैं।
If you're busy, being busy, running your busy business, let AC Tax Services plan for your future and account for your past. AC Tax Services can take care of it all. Year-end accounts, tax returns, PAYE and payroll, along with experienced proactive advice and planning to help your business grow. Call 0191 249 8720 or find AC, that's ACC Tax Services on Facebook. AC Tax Services, your local accountants and tax advisors.
The COVID-19 vaccination programme will be the biggest in the history of the NHS. Across the North East and North Cumbria, thousands of people will be vaccinated at our dedicated COVID-19 vaccination centres. To make it happen, your NHS needs your help. There are hundreds of new jobs and volunteering opportunities available at locations across the region. Visit covidvaccinejobs.nenc.com now to see how you can play your part in fighting the virus.
Oh, Kaz was upset and I didn't know what to say.
Jenny was great. She just listened.
4 hours to get to the coast.
I got to see the sea.
And I burnt Kaz's birthday cake.
That cake was rank, but making it was wicked.
As a foster carer, your bad day could be their best day. The Children's Family Trust are not-for-profit and offer real support for their carers.
Apply for the world's most rewarding career.
Search the Children's Family Trust.
नमस्कार, एक विशेष सूचना गर्भवती स्त्रियों के लिए जो NHS ENI की तरफ से दी जाती है। साक्ष्य बताते हैं कि गर्भवती स्त्रियों में विटामिन डी की कमी होती है, जो कोविड-19 की चपेट में आ सकते हैं। इसीलिए ये सलाह दी जाती है कि गर्भवती स्त्रियां प्रतिदिन एक 10 माइक्रोग्राम विटामिन डी की गोली लें। ये दवाएं सुपरमार्केट्स और फार्मेसी के काउंटर पर उपलब्ध हैं। गर्भावस्था के दौरान विटामिन डी लेना बहुत सुरक्षित है। ये सलाह NHS की तरफ से दी जाती है। अगर आपको अपने या नवजात शिशु के स्वास्थ्य चिंता है, तो आप जल्द से जल्द मदद लीजिए। मैटरनिटी यूनिट से संपर्क करें, जहां आपने अपने बच्चे की बुकिंग की है। ये सूचना भी आपको NHS ENI की तरफ से दी जाती है। अधिक जानकारी के लिए कम्युनिटी मिडवाइफ या GP से संपर्क करें।
For the community, by the community. Spice FM 98.8 FM.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ammar.
Hey, gosh. That was an extended, there was an eclectic mix of adverts and community messages and news.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, listening to Ammar and
Jalf
live on our weekly show right here.
And each week we're going to bring you some views, news, and 1 or 2 clues from the business world.
Asian Business Connections aims to connect, support, and promote the Asian and wider communities.
And we'll be talking shop quite literally, not just corner shops. Whether you look to start a business, have an existing business, or you just want to talk business, we can help.
Absolutely, absolutely. How someone reported last week that the microphone sound on my side wasn't great. Well, actually, I think it was on both of our sides. It's probably because we're now using Zoom and we're not using sort of all of the
headphones,
the headphones and the
all the high tech equipment we used to have in the Spice FM.
Well, the studios. Invested so much in the studio. It was great. The new setup, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course. And you got all the eggshells on the well, not quite eggshells, but you know, you got all the egg crates. That's what I was trying to say. So the sound was brilliant, and it was a lovely studio to be in. But unfortunately, you know, such as the times that we're living in, we can't do those kind of Friday morning visits to the studio.
It is such a shame, is what it is. And we're now hearing, Jalf, that the current restrictions would appear that they're going to remain in place until probably autumn.
Well, I think it's outrageous that if we have to live this type of a life till autumn, and then they're going to say when we get to autumn, they're going to say 2022, and it's just going to be an ongoing. It's going to be an ongoing kind of evolution of this type of life. And I think there's many people that have said that, and when they did say that 6 months ago, they were deemed as being nutty conspiracy theorists. But now it seems to be the reality, and everyone's going to it's like being a slow drip of acceptance, I think. But I just really hope that there needs to be some kind of give. And I really appreciated a Conservative minister. He was on Sky News yesterday, absolutely berating the health minister for his, I mean, it's quite gun-ho type of attitude that Dominic sometimes has. Is it Dominic? What's it's not Dominic, is it? It's Matt Hancock. And it was all about, he was making reference to this 10-year imprisonment. He said, well, look, if you imagine, I'm just a 19-year-old fun-loving kid, and yes, I get asked the question, where have you been on holiday? Or actually, I've come back from Portugal, whereas actually you came back from Spain. And for that, you're going to imprison somebody for 10 years. I mean, it's just absolutely ludicrous. And how come they let the Secretary of Health in a public stage go and make those type of announcements? I think what is happening to the legal justice system in this country, and how come the health minister can make these type of absolutely ludicrous comments, and there's only one MP in the whole country that seems to be against it? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, isn't British law, Ammar, it's been respected throughout the world? If you're going to make these type of silly announcements, is that not just going to demean the justice system that's been built over thousands of years of well organized, well thought out systems, fair systems based on justice and keeping, we want to be a law abiding society, and you want to have a set of rules and that we all should follow, so for the safety and the betterment of society. But coming up with these silly laws out of the blue and actually representing the government and going on making public announcements, it's just baffling. It's absolutely baffling. So yeah, I think and is
what
that
are you trying to say? What are you trying to say, Jalf?
I'm just trying to say that why is that what we have to accept now, Ammar? The health minister's coming up with new justice systems on the hoof, as they go along, not thought out, not planned, not discussed in Parliament.
Well, they were given the power to do this, weren't they? This was all of the power that has been formulating, and the parliamentary processes that have been going through. So it is quite interesting, isn't it, that the powers enacted or given to ministers on the back of COVID allow for such extreme laws to be introduced.
I think it's
like
10 wrong.
10 years, Jalf, in jail if you tell a lie.
What? Or just in? Oh yeah. I mean, come on. The politicians tell lies to us every day. They should all be locked up.
Not all politicians, obviously. We're not talking about all politicians, but yes, I think it's a great point.
They lie to each other.
It's actually a very valid and good point, Jalf, to make that to suggest that you're able to do that. I mean, look, the likelihood is, if it went through the legal system, would it allow you to be able to really do that? I mean, remember we discussed a couple of weeks back, Jalf, whether the lockdown laws were moral or ethical.
Mm.
And if you remember that we discussed equally, one of the justices from the Supreme Court, a really interesting person, sort of sharing his views on what the government was doing and what it wasn't doing and what it should be allowed to do and what it shouldn't be allowed to do. And we need to recognize that's just an opinion as opposed to a factual bit of law, but it's quite telling that one of the top judiciary in the UK, in our United Kingdom, who've gone through the process of being a judge, being a district judge, being a county court, a county judge, being a high court judge, going through all of that, years and years of experience of looking at and investigating and making judgments on law. And on average, they've spent 30, 40 years of doing this on average, if not more, before you become a Supreme Court justice. And as a consequence, I feel that they're far better qualified than anybody, certainly outside of the justice system, to have a view which is legitimate and thought through.
Absolutely. And it's only people of that type of experience and background that should be representing the government and coming up with anything to do with laws and legals. You can't have the health minister, you talk about your hospitals, my friend, and let someone who's far better qualified than yourself to talk about the law, because it would give the public a lot more assurity that we have people that know what they're doing, know what they're talking about, coming out and making some nonsensical points like that. It just undermines the government and how they're managing this situation, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I agree. Listen, I think, but equally, look, it's quite a challenge, isn't it, for a minister to try and do what's right.
Do the right thing.
Yeah.
But Ammar, they've been steep in referencing this point of what do you do in terms of allowing people to come into the country since March. They should have done that this time last year, or they should have done it in January last year. And all of a sudden, a year later, they kind of wake up and they introduce these incredible. They go right on the. It's like a full scale kind of U-turn on the whole situation. And where have they been for the last 9 months when people could just walk into the country in the height of COVID? And all of a sudden now you're going to introduce these laws. Isn't that a bit late? After you've got the country into the state where there's these mad lockdowns, because if you had done it back January, we may not be in lockdowns.
Well, it's just interesting, the differences and the difference, that the different countries and their different approaches that they've taken in dealing with this. And look, of course, it's dead easy for us to be critical, and it's dead easy for us to sit here and point fingers. And everybody in government is doing a trying job. Just no one signed up to this. So we need to accept and acknowledge that. The challenge is you can't do anything for doing right, and you can't do anything for doing wrong, right? So in a crisis, action is far more important and critical than inaction. And sadly, we've seen so many examples of inaction that have then compounded things, made them worse. I mean, gosh, we're in our third lockdown and there is no sign of us coming out of this, Jalf. Yet we are one of the foremost, after Israel. Israel have got a fantastic vaccination program, one of the best in the world.
Because Netanyahu's buddies with the Pfizer chief, isn't he?
Right.
So they
anyway,
just said,
whoever it is, or whatever.
No, they are, Mark, because Netanyahu actually came out. He said, "Oh, the chairman of Pfizer is my friend." So luckily he is, because he's given us first What is it? What did he say at school, Ammar? First, I've
Dibs.
got first. What is
Dibs.
it?
First
Yeah.
dibs.
First dibs, yeah. So Israel had first dibs on the vaccine, so
Yeah.
that's why they're all right.
Well, you can almost expect Israel to always be all right, to be honest. So the because of the size, because of their breadth, because of the depth, because of what they do. Anyway, we are now at sort of in excess. We passed the 10 million mark. We've gone well past that. I mean, one of the days last week, we nearly done 1 million vaccinations, right? And at the start of this vaccination journey, the idea was, or the suggestion was, look, let's just get these people who are the most vulnerable, the most at risk done. And once that happens, let's then look at how we open up and do things and all of that, right? And it's those false hopes, it's those statements that then people will go, actually, all right, I get that, and I realize that, and I accept that. I might not agree with it, but I accept it. Now we find ourselves with statements being made that suggest and state that it's potentially going to be autumn.
It's because I think it's all about getting everyone in the country vaccinated. And I think, although they're not saying that the vaccine minister is not admitting this at the moment, but I think it's all going to be down to getting everyone on a vaccine passport and tying that in with the NHS app to do with COVID. So I think they're going to basically slowly drip feed that into the system, and that's what they want to do. They can't achieve that until everyone is vaccinated. So I think that's why they've probably put these new timescales in place, because their strategy has evolved. That's my personal opinion. If that's what they're saying, let's hope that you're wrong, Ammar. Let's hope that I'm wrong, and they don't take us into autumn. Can you imagine September, October? It's going to be like this. I mean, how many people are going to go a bit mentally disturbed from a lockdown for another 9 months?
Oh, it's just, well, last year, Jalf, in talking to senior security services, so MI5, and obviously I'm not talking to MI5, but as in
you are MI5.
MFI is what it was. but the security services, they were on in the press, and they were on sort of various sort of radio shows and TV shows and things like that. So the head of Scotland Yard. It's funny that it's called Scotland Yard, isn't it?
We must have some. Wonder what the stories are on that.
Yeah, that's it. I've never thought about that actually, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers would be interested. So I'll dig something up. But anyway, you heard people in Scotland Yard. Well, the police, even locally here, right?
Yeah.
They are really concerned, and the government's really concerned, although they're not saying this, around the potential civil unrest. And we started seeing some of that in August, September, where people were going out protesting, where there were demonstrations, and people were like, look, this is ridiculous, and then they were getting arrested, and all of that is now being quashed, right? Because of the lockdown, and because it's law, you are legally not allowed to leave your house unless you're going out for exercise, unless you're going out for essential shopping, and unless you cannot work from home. And even if you cannot work from home, right, you have to demonstrate quite clearly why that is. And anywhere you get caught or you go anywhere, so we're under a curfew, right? So all of a sudden, people can't protest, can they?
Yeah, but protests should always, I remember many years ago speaking to a printer, and there's a particular leaflet which up to a certain GSM that there's no VAT on. And I said, well, why is that? He said, because there is a law in the country that allows, because of freedom of speech and this, that, and the other, you can print leaflets for a certain grade to inform the public of certain things going on. So is there a law? Is there a deep-rooted law which allows protests to be culled? Because people should have the right to go out on the streets and protest if they want to protest, right? People should be able to give leaflets to inform others of what they feel is going on in the country, because those laws were always in place. So if they've actually gone and changed those laws without kind of raising the profile about the changes, then I'm not really sure about it. Because even in the lockdown, surely if people want to go on protest, they should have the right, they should have that right, should they not?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, is it not like freedom of speech and things like that anymore? Are they getting all culled at the same time?
I just think it's crazy.
I think it is worrying for a lot of people, and a lot of, I mean, 60 million people going in, 65 million people, whatever it is, in a lockdown. And it's been so sustained since March. And you say I'm on lockdown 3, but to me, it's not lockdown 3. It's lockdown 2, because as far as in my industry, we haven't come out the second lockdown because the goalposts have not changed at all. So we're still in the lockdown that we were in at the back end of October. So November, December, January, February, that's 4 months that we've been in lockdown. And what they're going to take it up to the autumn, that's going to be a full year in lockdown. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
So, but look, it's the reality of it. But there's only so much one can do, Ammar, to try and survive. Because if you think about some of the costs that are ongoing, that you have to pay your rents, you have to pay the PAYE bills if you've got your business open and you've got some members of your staff on furlough. You have to pay the standing charges for your utility bills. It's gas, electricity, water. If you've got many other standing orders that are probably in place, what do? Do you just get rid of the pest control, for example, and then you open up your food outlet and it's full of rats and it's full of insects? Or do you keep those? Do you continue to honor the contracts for your pest control organizations so that your buildings is safe? What about the maintenance that every single building requires, Ammar? So, you know, it's been raining heavily, it's been wet, it's been windy, you might have leaks. You need that constant maintenance. So, but your doors are shut, it doesn't mean that that building is not going to incur constant costs. So how on earth can people pay these constant costs that are there and try to remain open without having any certainty when that's going to be? It's outrageous. And on top of that, the insurance companies are not going to play ball and not going to give any money out. So I think there's going to be such a cull of small operators when eventually, if there is any type of normality, which I doubt there will be, but I mean, the landscape of the world that we live in is going to be so different from what we knew it.
I just think it's crazy. Yeah, I just think you're absolutely right. And what's really interesting this morning was and is the fact that the chief economist Andy Haldane from the Bank of England has made an announcement saying, well, you know, when we come out of lockdown, the economy is going to bounce back and we're going to be amazing. And you just think, well, okay, I don't doubt that everybody's going to rush out the doors and get to the shops and, you know, there's going to buy stuff and do stuff and whatever else. But, you know, equally at this moment in time, societies on so many businesses are on so much life support, right?
Yeah.
That potentially is going to start being turned off. So as soon as you have to start paying back any of the C bills or the bounce back loans or whatever that is, as soon as you remove furlough, that's going to have such an incredible impact on the economy and businesses. We haven't even seen the start of the impact, in all honesty. The challenge is I don't doubt there's going to be a surge in spending, but rest assured that'll be followed by a plunge in business and economy.
Absolutely. Well, it's the plunge is here. We would have seen the plunge already. I mean, yes, there will be some kind of a surge, but it's going to be a very, very different world, Ammar. It's, for example, city centre retailers. I mean, how many city centre retailers are going to be out of business by the time all of this stuff gets back? And then the habits, people's habits are going to change so much. So, you know, the likes of Mr. Bezos and co. and the online delivery businesses, the DPDs of the world, isn't that I don't think that's going to go away, Ammar. I think that's going to be a new way of us purchasing. You know, are the shops ever going to be the same again? Is the city centre ever going to be the same again? People, you know, are they going to go into the shops? You just don't know. But, you know, the likes of Amazon and that convenience that they give everybody, it's definitely here to stay. And if the pendulum switched more to that side than us going into the shops conventionally, which it certainly has at the moment, you know, what do we go back into? So all of those things are going to be hard to predict. So social changes, it's definitely going to be a number of social changes moving forward. And I guess those that can gauge what the new social changes are going to be in 6 months' time, I guess they could be onto a winner.
Yeah. Look, the thing is if you can look into the future and
sick of the same old radio sound? Then you need vibrant radio. Spice up your life. Spice FM 98.8 FM.
कोविड-19 कोरोना वायरस के सिलसिले में हुकूमत की तरफ से आपके लिए ताज़ा तरीन हिदायत। ये निहायत ज़रूरी है कि हम सब घर पर रहें। हमें सिर्फ इन वजूहात की बिना पर अपने घर से निकलने की इजाज़त है। अगर आप किसी की देखभाल करते हैं या किसी के केयरर हैं, वो ज़रूरी काम जो आप घर से नहीं कर सकते या ज़रूरी खरीदारी के लिए आप अपने घर से बाहर जा सकते हैं। घरेलू तशद्दुद या कोई ज़रूरी तिब्बी इमदाद के लिए अगर आप अपने लिए या अपने ख़ानदान के लिए कोई मेडिकल सपोर्ट चाहते हैं तो आपको अपने घर से बाहर जाने की इजाज़त है। आप अपने ख़ानदान के अफराद के अलावा किसी दूसरे से अपने या दूसरे के घर पर नहीं मिल सकते। ये इंतहाई ज़रूरी है कि हम हुकूमत की दी हुई गाइडलाइन से जुड़े रहें और उस पर अमल करें। मज़ीद मालूमात के लिए आप गवर्नमेंट या NHS की वेबसाइट से राबता कर सकते हैं। घर पर रहें, अपनी और दूसरों की जिंदगियां बचाएं, NHS को बचाएं। शुक्रिया।
From oldie goldies to the latest hits, from discussions and chat to phone-ins and issues, Spice FM 98.8 FM.
Yeah, and that was a community announcement that's been introduced on half past the hour even. What?
Well, it's really important that obviously the announcement do happen and people
listen to it,
become aware of you know what's been announced and what we need to do.
Absolutely. It's it's just interesting, isn't it? So, Jalf, I think biggest challenge isn't just simply predicting the future, but sort of sorting out the present. So it's like, you know, as a business, how do you position yourself to continue to sustain what you can and actually get through this part? Because you're absolutely right. The amount of overheads generally and generically, you know, landlords still want their lease payments, banks still want their mortgage payments from landlords. There's all of the insurance, there's all the regulation, there's all the legislation, there's all of pretty much everything, right? and it's like the credit crunch, but times that by 100, because what you're doing here is you're not just rolling up the credit, but you're rolling up the debt. Now, as a business person, right? As a business person, when you've gone to a bank or when you've gone to a big company or when you've secured some asset finance or whatever that is, since the credit crunch of sort of 2008 and 9, the vast majority of finance providers, regardless of who and what they are, have asked for personal guarantees, haven't they?
Yeah, because they want you hooked on their debt.
So all of a sudden, we're not just talking about the business sort of closing. We're going to see so many individuals.
I mean, the advice would be try not to give PGs, personal guarantees, under any circumstances, because once you do give that, then you enter a whole different world, and your lifetime assets that you've built, everything is on the line. So I think you just need to be very, very mindful of the risks of giving a personal guarantee in any scenario. And naturally, on the other side, they're going to want that personal guarantee, because they're going to be, their money is on their line, and they're worried about the future as much as what we are on this side. But ultimately, personal guarantees should be avoided under most circumstances.
Honestly, it's challenging, isn't it? What's happening locally, Jeff?
Locally, obviously the inclement weather, as beautiful as the snow is, I think that's going to have a impact on a lot of businesses. I think even the number of delivery drivers that you would see on the street somewhere. If you imagine that you're on a bike and you work for, let's say, it's okay to mention names, isn't it? Let's say you work for Deliveroo, a lot of deliveries are done on bikes, but in this weather, are you going to be as mobile as what you would be ordinarily? So I think all type of businesses are going to be hit. And if you imagine that you're doing deliveries and you go into a particular state and you have to go into a particular state in this weather, I mean, your journey time is just almost double. The risks are a lot higher. So I guess it's going to have a negative impact on most things, other than those who are going to Cowes Hill to enjoy the sledging as a family. So I think that I can't see there being too much positives due to the weather, and the weather's been pretty poor all week, and it's definitely having an impact, certainly in my industry, far as I'm aware.
Well, it's actually horrific. And as you say, whilst it looks nice, I mean, it was when I got up this morning, it was -7 degrees.
Yeah.
And unsurprisingly, which is exactly what you need, our boiler had a fault on it.
Oh dear. Well, boilers, they tend to pick the right time, don't they?
They never break in summer, do they? Hey?
Yeah. But then saying that, Ammar, you can understand how, if you've got outside pipes which are frozen, and that then they need to have that outlet where a little bit of water comes out of whatever it is, when it's aircon units and things like that. If you got the pipes are frozen, then you're going to have some kind of a fault here and there, aren't you?
Yeah.
And how do you unfreeze a blocked pipe outside? Okay, you unfreeze it, but it's just going to freeze up again, isn't it?
Well, and that's the thing. So I'm waiting. Anyway, we're fortunate on one hand to have cover, and actually, I was a little expected. I logged on, managed to get an appointment for this morning between 8 and 1.
Excellent.
You know, which because I know for a fact it's not just my boiler that is that'll be playing up, and if you try and call any plumber, they'll want like ridiculous amounts, and even some of them in this weather, Jaff, will not be um, going out and about, and
Yeah.
and you know, I mean, gosh, this weekend, Jaff, would be a big weekend for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it's still going to be, Ammar. It's still going to be a big weekend. We've seen a number of pre-orders across the sites, and I think it is gearing up to a big weekend. I think hopefully by Sunday, you know, maybe the snow may kind of ease up a little, but it is going to be a big weekend, and we're ready and firing on all cylinders. We're definitely being prepared. And judging by the pre-orders that have been coming in, I think it's still going to be good. And I think the type of venue that we have, when it comes to special occasions, I think we fare a bit better than most. Because are you going to really want to have a kebab or a burger on a special occasion? Probably not. So I think these are the weekends ordinarily, you know, they will be huge, and hopefully they're still going to be significant.
No, I think you know, there is no question of the challenges, and it was so interesting. Whilst I probably shouldn't be admitting this live on air, but you know, it's my wife's birthday, and that's not the part that I'm like reluctant to admit. But last week I'd looked for some flowers and things like that, and getting stuff, and 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 I was just going through the process, and for whatever reason I stopped. And then on Monday this week, when I looked at the same things, you couldn't get them.
Yeah.
And obviously I've already got, you know, I'm well prepared. So I got a birthday present and everything else sort of months ago, I think. Anyway, but it's what's interesting is the fact that there are so many everything online is seeing a huge demand. If you can do something online, and I'll tell you what, one of the things I've booked, and I'm hoping that the wife isn't tuned in or watching it, but one of the things I looked at was there's and maybe this is something that you want to do or should do, Jack. We've talked about this. Is the dine at home thing?
Yeah, we're about to launch that, Ammar. It's getting ready in the background, so we've got some really interesting things happening with that. So we've worked on the concepts, got some brilliant ideas in place, and we've already started behind the scenes, and we're going to launch it officially. Probably one part of it is going to be launched in the next few days, and the second part is going to be launched in a couple of weeks. One of which is dead easy. It's a matter of getting, you know, you go to supermarkets and you can buy obviously frozen food, but to be able to add a slightly different twist to the normal conventional takeaway in a restaurant, we've been getting a number of guests who live about 30-40 miles away, but they work in the city still. So they approached us, and it's something that we were working on anyway, about serving the food cold. And the key to that is, Ammar, you make the food hot, but you have to then blast chill it very, very fast, so that the hot food is still.
Whilst it's still hot, John.
Yeah. So when it's hot, you cook it hot, and you have. So what's critical in restaurants, and I'm not sure how much the public know about this. When you cook big batches of food, it's absolutely imperative you have the ability to bring that food to a cold temperature as quickly as possible. Because if you imagine you cook a big pot of food and you leave it out and you're waiting for it to cool down at its own pace, you have the risk of bacteria getting into the food.
Right.
But if you can cool that down very, very fast, then the bacteria can't get into the food. And the only way that you can cool it down fast is if you have a blast chiller. Now, we've had blast chillers for years. I don't think many sites do because of the cost and the space that you need. But we have the blast chillers, and we've been blast chilling an ordinary meal that you would take away, but you can pick it up at lunchtime. And we give you cooking, reheating instructions, and then you go home and you follow the instructions and you reheat. So, for example, instead of putting everything in the microwave, which is we don't recommend, some things could work in a microwave, but for example, let's say an onion bhaji. If you get an onion bhaji and then you put that in the microwave, when it comes out the microwave, it's going to be soggy. Yeah. But we know that if you get an onion bhaji and if you heat that in an oven at a particular temperature, only for 3, 4, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, and it comes out and it's still got that crunch, and that crunch is critical for that particular dish. So it's given cooking instructions for each individual dish, and even prawns, for example, we serve them raw, marinated, because we can't cook the prawns and give it to you to then reheat at home, because you've already cooked it, and then if you cook it again, it's going to be very, very chewy. It's not going to have that delicacy. So it's understanding the science of the dish and how to do it, and that's going to come out in the next week or so, but we've already been doing it, and it's been really, really good. And you've got the tools to do it.
Which is fantastic. And one of the experiences I got was a Michelin chef, where they send you all of the ingredients fresh.
Yep.
To follow at home with a video demonstration.
Yep.
And then with lots of additional, so you get an apron and you get all of these things, and I know you've got some of them, but you then between a particular time on a Saturday night, you then have a live sort of video dining experience with the chef.
All right,
and other diners.
Yeah. I think another thing that's been quite interesting at the moment, we've been getting orders from the same street. So 3, 4, 5 different households are ordering together, and they do a roundup of orders, and we go and take it to them, and then they've got the tables ready and wait for the food, and then they're doing their Zoom calls and talking about their dishes whilst they're eating, and that seems to be the new thing at the moment.
Well, it's just, I mean, people are looking for other things to do, right? As in, and it's not something that we could particularly do, and it's very, very hard to do things when you've got very young children. So I'm going to have to tie them up and put them in a cupboard or something like that. But I just thought, let's check out the novelty aspect of this. And the other thing that you and I have spoken about for a very long time is the curry clubs. Since we've gone virtual, so almost looking at how you package the spices, so to speak, and they can get raw material. So you get a spice pack, you get a video beforehand, and we're looking to launch that in our March curry club is what we're looking to do. So anyone can just pay for, order the spices, they get packaged up in the right portions, and they get sent out, and they can go and buy their own, fish or or whatever it is. It's more than likely going to be either vegetarian or a fish dish, given the time, how quick we're looking to get this to happen. And then do that live demonstration and almost do that at the beginning of the curry club, so that then people can sit and eat and share and show and all of that. So I'm quite excited by that, because the one thing that you can't do and you mustn't do, and regardless of however we feel, what you can't and mustn't do is break the lockdown rules, because as soon as one person starts doing that, and then that affects other people, and that affects other people, and that affects other people, all of a sudden we're not going to come out of this at all, is what we're not going to do. And that's one of the big challenges. And what's particularly important is that people follow those rules. However, you can and should look at what else can you do to bring that community, that engagement feel. And this is very two-dimensional. People, jump on the video calls immediately, and it's almost like, oh God, another video call. But if you can add another dimension to it by way of, let's get together in a group, and some of those people you don't know, and you're sharing that experience of cooking something and eating something, whether you're doing that remotely or not, right? Well, the fact that you when you cook and eat together, it brings people and communities together. So I just feel as if, we could do more than simply doing the demonstration. And Frederico's a fantastic entertainer as well as a chef. So if we can just take that to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's work on something simple for the next one.
Absolutely. So
we'll start working on it.
I think what we do is, because we've got the curry club on the 25th
of March.
No. We've got the curry club on the 25th of February, which is our next curry club. However, let's do this. Let's demonstrate the dish that we're going to do again in March.
Okay.
Right? So people can see it. And then we'll follow up immediately with the ingredients, get the ingredients packed, and we're going to limit it so that, we're going to make it relatively exclusive. So normally we get 30, 40 people. So we might just cap it at, right, we're going to do it for 30 people, because part of the experience has to be that we go around the room and everybody quickly shows us their dish. Right? And we want to incorporate that experience into this if we can. So I just think that that'll bring people together. And the more we can do that, and the more we can encourage it. And as I say, because I am a critical support worker, and because naturally I'm part of your bubble as well, we can almost all do it in a socially distant environment and broadcast it live in March from the same place with the right video equipment, and do all of those things absolutely in accordance with the law and all restrictions and regulations. So let's do that. So anyway, the experience, as I say, I'm sort of looking forward to it, because I'm gonna ask the wife to, well, both of us, I'm hoping that we get dressed up and we make a bit of effort, because that's the other thing, is how many people actually get bothered to dress up now. And the conversations that I have with people is, oh God, which tracksuit shall I put on? Or what lounge? And I'm going, what? And it's like, oh yeah, I've just stuck a tracksuit on, it's just convenient and all of that. And I can understand the convenience and the comfortable factor of that. What I would still recommend is whenever you make an effort, and if you can make an effort, right, you feel better for having made the effort, and it makes it demarks the fact of the rest of the day or the rest of the time. So, as in on a if you can, and particularly if you're stuck with your partner at home or with family, and you're almost like, well, I'm just wearing this, and I'll just wear this in bed, and I'll get up and wear it out of bed, and I'll just wear the same stuff because I'm not seeing anyone, I'm not doing anything. What's the point of me getting changed or getting showered or getting whatever it is? And there's a lot of that going on, Jalf, sadly. But equally, understandably, why it is. As in, people people are really, really disheartened and downbeat, and that people's mental health is really being affected and impacted.
I think it is, but like you said, Ammar, we may not realize the importance, like you mentioned a few weeks ago. Even dressing up, it has such a positive impact on your mentality, on your mental health. So I think they need to really look at that and find reasons to actually dress up, and it gives mental sharpness. It just makes it's more positive. So I think there maybe is an occasion where you're having a Zoom dinner. Is the occasion where you kind of prop yourself up a bit and get out the joggers.
I think look, we've done the family thing. We do the family thing of getting some fish and chips, and everybody tunes in, and the kids are talking to one another, and that's nice, and I do enjoy that. But actually, it doesn't matter what people are wearing, and it doesn't matter what people look like, because there's just a universal acceptance of people aren't wearing makeup. Well, they're not. It's incredible how many women are no longer wearing makeup. And whether I agree with women and men wearing makeup or not, they feel better for it, don't they? Is the thing.
But is that like a trend that I'm not aware of? Men wearing makeup. I'm not.
Well, what do you do?
Because I am a bit slow when it comes to trendsetters like yourself. But
you've got your whole routines, and I'm distinctly aware of that.
Of course, there are routines, skincare routines, which is different to wearing makeup.
Well, everyone wears. Do you not wear makeup? What's wrong with it? I wear make down as opposed to makeup. Is what I have to do. So, that's an approach. Anyway, we talk about a variety of things. So just very, very briefly. The Curry Club is happening on the 25th of February. It is, we've got an immigration lawyer talking about immigration and thinking about the changes that have affected and are affecting people. So, to encourage everybody to get signed up to that. The AB Connections. There still remains a lot of support available. We're talking to lots of businesses. We're better understanding them. So if Eleanor reaches out and asks you to get involved in a questionnaire, please contribute, because it's really, really important that you do, because we're sort of using that insight to go back to government, to go to local authorities and go, look, this is what businesses really want, and this is what businesses really need. So you need to take account and factor this into any business support, rather than the decisions being made remotely without local businesses being engaged and involved. So we're doing that. There's the peer network support I've talked about, and these are running across the northeastern Tees Valley. We're doing all of that. There's additional support coming about for individual businesses. There's a whole range of grants and particularly for recruiting and things like that for businesses, and that we've got a range of support on offer as well. And the reason why I say this is because it's really, really important that people reach out, and access the support that's there.
Absolutely. If it's out there, it's more important than ever to get access to that support, know where it is, and like Ammar said, access it and get as much as you can if something's available.
Well, look, the businesses that have come through this up until now are the ones that lifted their head up out of the sand and looked around and said, how can I, how might I, how can we go and get the support? How do I get that support? And not just financial support, professional support. I realize I can't do this alone. I don't want to do this alone. And that's what's really, really important. So the peer network group, Jalf, it's incredible because, within the group, you've got like business owners from different sectors, different ages, different experiences. They're coming together. They're having very honest conversations. Look, I'm really struggling with this. I don't know about that. How do I get customers in the current climate? How can I do some marketing in the current climate? What about my finance and cash flow? And even things like well-being. I've got kids at home that I'm schooling. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. And I'm really, really struggling. And I'm trying to fit everything in a day. Is there any advice and guidance on how you can fit things in and what type of structure you could have? And then, because you're part of a group, it's like going to the gym when you're in a class, Jalf, or with a trainer, right? You perform far better, don't you? Because someone's holding you to accountability and someone's going, okay, you said you were going to do this. Have you done it? And did you get the right support? Do you know how to do it? Do you know, when to do it? Do you know how, what to do? And all of those things, and you get access to all of those things. And I think it's incredible because it's about the power of people, is what it's all about. So for me, reach out, get that help. And you might be drowning or you might feel as if you're drowning, but just say, look, I'm drowning. Acknowledge that to yourself. It takes a lot of courage. And then from that, just reach out. AB Connections or the SME Centre of Excellence. Jalf, it's Valentine's.
Well, I hope we have a lovely weekend. And I think the days of you being inundated with a number of cards is probably over. But even so, I'm sure it's you're much happier.
That's outrageous. I get loads. I do get loads. What, are you not going to send me one? I always send you one. But, it's funny. It's funny. It's all about the kids now, is what it is.
Yeah, of course. That's where the love is. Well, Ammar.
Until next week, Jalf. It's
good to see you. Enjoy the weekend
from me, and we'll be back next Friday at the same time with all your news, views, and one or two clues. You've been listening to Ammar and
Jalf.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.